Filling up today's November 12th edition of Kelly and Company, Julia Karantjas talking about what to do to warm up our bodies when we're cold. And Jeff Ryman with what's coming up on Parasport Nation. Today, it's all about boccia. It's time to get into the game here on Kelly and Company.
This is Kelly and Company.
Well, today we have a special show because it's the first time appearance for Alicia Grace Chanier joining us here on the show. Chanier, excuse me, Alicia Grace. I even corrected myself before we went on, and here I go. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Kelly. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we know that you were to be on Now with Dave Brown before things changed, and we had the opportunity of getting you to work a little bit on our show, do some presenting, and kind of bring some different angles to subjects that we get talking about, but you have different viewpoints of. Tell us a little bit about you and where people can find you.
Yeah, so for me, I'm currently in my second year of disability studies at Toronto Metropolitan University. And I work as a motivational speaker, actor, and activist in the disability community. And I'm taking a big focus on disability representation and bringing authentic disability representation to my work, whether that be talking about it, being the actor who's bringing the disability representation, and just making the film and media world more accessible for blind or for people with disabilities.
Awesome. I love to talk about the theater stuff. We get into it. We'll save that for another day, of course, when we have opportunities, and we do have some interesting topics to get to. You are talking to us from Sudbury, and when it comes to a life of different experiences, you've had a handful when it comes to surgeries, at least. Are you comfortable to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so was diagnosed with a brain tumor when I was a baby. And so throughout my life, I am now 25, and I have had 6 brain surgeries throughout my life. I've had chemo, and also I just finished 6 weeks of radiation almost 2 years ago today.
Wow. Wow. Congratulations on that 2 years ago. Fantastic. All right. Well, we'll get into so much as we bring you on once a month to join me on the program. So let's get into your topic today. A long-running Broadway play is headed to the big screens and finally getting the kind of representation that we, as you just mentioned, have all been rooting for. Tell us more about this, Alicia.
Yeah, so a famous musical that many people may know, even if you're not a part of the Broadway and musical theater community, Wicked, being very, very, what do you call it, successful. It has
Mm-hmm.
been on Broadway and touring the world for over 20 years now. And there's a character in it. Her name is Nessa Rose, and they have never casted an authentically disabled person to play her, someone who is in a wheelchair. And surprisingly, the first person to be in a wheelchair only happened in 2015 on Broadway. And I always wondered why there wasn't an authentically casted person for this role. I went to see Wicked in Toronto, and I was really hopeful, but the person, like, she was outstanding, but she was not an authentic wheelchair user. But now with the movie has decided to take on that role and really bring in that authentic disability casting.
So how do you feel about these doors being opened? How important when you really look at what's going on, like you said, 2015. Wow. How important as an aspiring actor do you consider this?
I think for me, like, I grew up in a world where we didn't, like, there would be disability on screen, but 9 out of 10 times, often it was never someone with a true disability, which was very unfortunate for someone like myself who wanted to be on the big screens and on the stage. And I think historically, disabled people weren't seen as we could go be in these spaces. So bringing someone who is fully disabled and in a wheelchair to Wicked, it really opens doors, and I think challenges the notions that people who are in wheelchairs and with disabilities can be on Broadway and can be in film. And I think it really is challenging other movies that now I think I hope it's going to bring a different narrative to
Mm.
future productions of Wicked on Broadway and stage, so that more disabled people are casted in roles like this.
Yeah, it's funny because I liken it to people of color, of course, over the years. If you think back years and years ago, it took step by step, and we were seeing the same people that got those roles. So now what we hope to start seeing happening is that opening of the door, whether the character is supposed to be a person with a disability or not, or put in the show just because, hey, this is a good actor who auditioned. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do whether they're in a wheelchair, they're blind, or whatever. With the story, we don't have to have that. But this person is a great actor that I would love to see on the screen, on stage. Those different reasons we just would love to be a part of things without it being a second thought of, well, hold it. A set's really dangerous. We can't have that wheelchair person wandering around, going over all the cables and stuff. What if a light falls on them or something? All the things that mean be careful around a set, the same way everyone else has to be. There's a interesting part of this, though. Let's talk about the sensitivity. A little magic is used here in the kind of curing of the disability here. What do you feel about that? Does it send a crazy message whether a person with a disability is playing the role or not?
Yeah, this I feel like I would have to see the movie to really get my take on more. But historically, the narrative for people with disabilities is that they look for a cure. It's a part of the medical model. We want to cure and treat disability. I think with Wicked, though, I feel like with how grandiose this movie is, I feel like they're going to change it a bit. I'm hoping that they will, in the fact that, like, yes, while she is being cured, I'm hoping that they do take it in a sensitive way that doesn't necessarily like diminish all of the disability, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I always think that there's those different viewpoints, the different circumstances that we're going to see. Do you want to talk a little bit about the article from Variety where she discusses her next roles and about hoping to play characters that her disability doesn't define her? And a conversation she had with a friend, it's not like you wake up every day and I'm going to eat my disabled cereal, and get out of my disabled bed, go on my disabled wheels for the
Yeah,
day, and go to my disabled work. She just feels this is my reality. This is my
yeah.
everyday. And I know as an actor, why do you do acting? Oh, I want to go out and play Let's Pretend.
Yeah, I think with Wicked, while it's a great role for someone because the character is in a wheelchair, that character historically is seen and always talked about and known for being in a chair, and she needs her older sister Elphaba to be there to help and support her. And I think what uh, Marissa Bodie, who is playing Nessa Rose, is talking about is that we as disabled actors want to find more roles that we can just be ourselves. Our disability is there, but it's not acknowledged. It may be touched on a bit. Like, yeah, I have
Right.
a disability, but then
Yep.
it's not the center focus and the epitome of the character because, Nessa Rose, again, I haven't seen the movie yet because it's not out, but in the like the plays and stuff, she is known for being the character in the wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, there's so much time and we have to be patient, but we have to be aggressive with all of us doing
Yeah.
what we want to do, living out these dreams. All right. Alicia, we'll get into more of that stuff, I'm sure, in future conversations here as we talk media with you on the program. I'd like to welcome in Nazreen Abdel Majid. Naz, you're going to be talking a little social media for us in a little while on the program, and you'll hang out with us a little bit as we bring Julia in a moment for nutrition chat. How's your day?
Pretty good. How are you?
All right.
I
I'm
wanted to mention that really quickly. It's crazy how the industry has really changed, and I
yes.
agree with you, Julia, Alicia. Sorry, that it, I feel like it's always the same people representing the disability community, and there's so many people that misrepresent the disability community. So it's nice to see that it is changing. And like you mentioned, Kelly, that back in the day it was the same people of color on TV on the big screen. And it's annoying, but it's baby steps, right?
Yeah, that's what I feel. Baby steps, positive baby steps. If you want to give us a call, ladies and gentlemen, give us a call, or excuse me, email us. Let's start with that. We'll get the phone number to you in a little bit. But at AMI, Calico at AMI.ca. One of these days, I'm going to actually memorize these, but good heavens, I should just let you do this stuff. But if you do want to call us, 1-866-509-4545 as well. Let's welcome in Julia Karantjas back to the program. Been a couple of months, Julia, since we've had a chance to talk to you. How the heck are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to be back chatting with you.
Well, it's going to be fun, and glad you're going to be with us on Tuesdays. But the question that you put to us today, and I have to say feet, but are your feet and hands always cold? Or do you just struggle to feel warm all over? So you've got some ideas, some things to share with us about how we might be able to warm up. I know for myself, it's usually the feet. When the feet get cold, that's it.
hmm
Alicia, how about you?
hmm
Is it your feet, hands, or what?
It's everything up here in Sudbury, but I would say mostly my feet because I'm always having to wear double layers of socks.
Wow.
Agreed.
All right,
Agreed.
and agreed, Naz, you too? Okay,
Yeah,
Julia,
I'm always cold.
why
Yeah,
why are some of us
I
constantly cold?
yes, I have invested in some very expensive alpaca wool socks, and I buy oversized shoes so that I can wear these thicker socks so that my feet stay warm. But there are a lot of people that do struggle with staying warm, and I thought let's chat about it because we're coming into November. It's actually getting cold now, and some people are going to struggle with constantly feeling cold, having that cold intolerance. And there's a couple of things that are going on if you are somebody that's always cold. And a good measure for that is, if your house is at a comfortable temperature, nobody else around you in your workspace or public setting that you're in is having these cold feelings, but you're always cold, maybe that's something you want to think about. So there's many reasons. One could be poor circulation.
Mhm.
Another could be anemia, and this could be iron anemia. So maybe your iron is low. This is more common in females. You could also be anemic in a vitamin capacity, maybe folic acid and B12, and this could be a factor. That could be a thyroid issue. Maybe your thyroid, which is your metabolic engine, is a little slow, and therefore you're
Right,
cold.
yep.
This is really common. Um, I also don't want to, not to be the bearer of bad news, but I think it's interesting that the females here all commented because there were some studies done, and it is more predominant, this cold intolerance in the female population,
Mm.
and it's
Mm.
because our metabolisms have been lower.
Would
Theoretically,
you ladies
they're
say
lower.
Nazreen, I'll start with you. Have you heard that all your life? Like it almost as if it's a male dominant. Oh, of course you're cold. You're like female, and I don't like to sound like that. And I think guys, we know better than to be insensitive like that, even if the proof is
Mm.
there in the study. But that seems to me something that ever since I was a child, it was it was just a foregone conclusion. Women are going to get
Yeah.
colder.
Exactly. And I think it's just from my experience that my whole family, it's always the females that are always freezing. Like my mom would complain how
Yeah.
cold she is. She'd wear a winter jacket in the fall, and even late spring and at night she would wear the winter jacket and she doesn't care. My dad and my brother would be like, "Are you guys okay?" It's just from experience that it's always like us girls that are always complaining that we're always freezing. And yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so women
Alicia,
are more susceptible because of these
and
lower metabolic rates.
now, Alicia's been in Sudbury all your life, but Julia, you also had experience there going to school. I always wonder how
I
different do
did.
people actually get used to it? Because Alicia, you were talking about being so cold anyway, and Julia, when you went there, did you notice and say, "Oh my God, this place is cold"?
Yes, yes. It is hard not to notice. You step outside,
Yeah.
I find it like it's hard to take a breath,
Right.
Oh, I hate that
Yes.
feeling.
your skin hurts, and it's painful, but the breathing thing you
There,
really notice. And yeah.
there's something about Sudbury in the morning when you go. Like, I just avoid it going in outside in the morning if unless I have to, because in the winter especially there's such a cold breath of
Mhm.
air that like you breathe in and you're like, well, this is it. Goodbye.
All right, Julia, what do we do?
Okay, well, first, there are some really easy things to do. I mean, if you think it's a medical thing, I definitely would consult your doctor because it could be. It could be a thyroid thing. You could need to go on an iron supplement. There definitely could be something there. The immediate relief would come in the form of having one hot meal at least once a day. I mean, if you could have all your meals hot, that's great. Drinking something warm is a great idea. Layering, also a good idea, and exercise because that will help with circulation. We want the blood circulating, oxygen in the blood. This will help get our extremities feeling warmer and also our core. I mean, some people
Right.
feel just the cold in their hands and feet, which is definitely a circulation thing, but there's other people that have that full body chill. Um, so drink hot, exercise, dress in layers. And also, this is a big one. Make sure you're eating enough because those
Mm,
calories in food that gets burned as energy. That, you know,
Right.
and burned
I
is
think
a
none of
good
us
term to
do.
use. No, it's right,
It's
Nazreen.
true.
It's very
Yeah.
easy to undereat, to either not make time to eat or not eat enough when you do make time because it's a really quick snack. And that's a
Mm.
problem. That can be a
Yeah.
problem. You're not getting those nutrients and you're not getting enough actual fuel to burn that metabolic fire. So maybe you need to maybe you need to eat more, which is what
Mhm.
I think is something to keep in mind.
Well, and when you say the energy, I never really thought of that, right? Because we always talk
Yeah.
in the fall when we have you on the program. We do this also with Mary, and we talk to her on Thursdays about that stick to your ribs food, the stuff that warms you up. And I don't know. I guess I've been that person who just kind of says, "Oh yeah, that's nice. Of course it's warm." But to think of staying power, you say maybe if you have to, one meal a day, if you can ensure that, hopefully all your meals or two of them at least are warm. But to conceive that, well, how does that keep going? How's having one
Mhm.
big bowl of soup and or stew at lunch going to do me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? But your points are so well made when you talk about, yeah, but what do you think why are you eating? Your body needs fuel to grow on, something to
Yeah,
Y-
burn.
Yeah. You know
it
what I
does.
did notice is that after I eat, I do find myself getting colder
Mhm.
sometimes.
Yes. So
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
you when you eat, all the energy goes to your gut to
Hmm.
digest, which is important. So
Yeah.
also, you know, maybe the volume of food. Some you want to, if you overeat, all your energy goes there. You get tired. But if you're eating a fair portion for your body, which you would know if you don't get gassy, bloated. I mean, if you're getting any sign of indigestion, this is a sign that you're not digesting to the best of your gut's ability, which is a whole other, you know, topic we can chat
Right.
about. But you know, put that food down there. You know, fiber, protein, our meats, our eggs, dairy if you eat it, and that's what's going to help give us energy. And then those calories are getting burned. The digestion process is the breaking apart of these, you know, not to get too sciencey, but these molecular bonds of our food, and they release the energy, and that's heat.
So that's the
So that
deceiving
it
part.
helps to warm us.
And that's the deceiving part at first, like Nazreen mentions, because your body needs to call upon resources, the blood, to get things broken down. But you're talking the
Hmm.
staying
Hmm.
power of making sure the good foods, the stuff that your body does need to burn, does need for that exercise you're talking
Yeah,
about, and these other things, or even just sustaining, are going to be the things to keep you
sustaining.
warm.
Yep.
You listed some things there. Is there anything particular, Julia, that you feel, man, it's cold, it's wet? What is a go to that? And I don't know if there's any proven data to support it. But is there particular foods
Yeah.
that you go to?
Yeah, and again, no data to support it. For me, it's stew, beef stew. Beef, I
Oh,
know that I have iron issues. So I
right.
know there iron in the beef and the B12 in the beef is really beneficial for me. So I will do beef stew. I'll do it in the crock pot or I'll take it out of the freezer if I've been really responsible and made it ahead of time, which is not very typical of me. That's a go-to. If I want something quick, I mean, I do just have a cup of tea as a quick option. I'll also have a piece of toast or egg. The egg is
Okay.
great protein. It's good
Yep.
fat. You're getting fiber in the bread. And it's all warm. You're eating it warm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just an egg. And if I have the time, the beef stew is really warming. Or if you're a chili eater, you could do chili. That's beef too.
What a good way to start your day with that egg. As we know, we get kind of, oh, cholesterol,
Hmm.
eggs, but you talked about so many of the
Oh,
benefits of egg and then that stew.
yeah.
That is the one I remember from the fall, and my parents were just the biggest beef stew supporters. And of course, dumplings. Julia, thank you.
Thanks.
We'll talk to you next Tuesday on the program. Julia Karantjas, our nutritionist, talking to us about how to keep warm. If kind of missed any of that, do check out our podcast. You can subscribe to it. You can also, of course, remember we're on YouTube. And Nazreen's, maybe you can fill us in a little bit on some of the stuff going on over there on YouTube, things we should know about Alicia, I, and our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, so if you missed an episode, you can go on YouTube on Kelly and Company. You can find it on any podcast platform of your choosing. And on Twitter, we're available on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, it's Kelly and Co. And yesterday, we posted a Twitter poll question asking you guys, how do you typically wake up in the morning? And the options were alarm clock, someone wakes me up, and no alarm clock. I just wake up naturally. And
Right, right.
we got 67% of you saying by setting an alarm clock. And
You wimps.
33% of you guys said no alarm clock. I just wake up naturally. I'm
Yeah.
impressed by the people that just say, I just wake up naturally. I wish it was me. Alicia,
Yeah.
what do you think of that?
I simply couldn't. I have my cat as my alarm clock most days, who wakes me up because she's hungry. So that's my alarm clock, but I don't think I could be a person who doesn't have an alarm clock because I just wouldn't get out
Mm.
of bed.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. And that's what I say to people because I can't really relate to what do you mean you need 1, 2, Rummy alarm 3 kind of thing happening. For me, it's always been that way. But as I mentioned yesterday, you can get an anxiety and a fear that something's going to go on in the sense of, well, I hope I wake up tomorrow. I got to be up for sure at that time. Every other day, no problem, but there's got to be one.
Yep.
Nazreen, thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Ryman, do you use alarms or not? He's joining us to talk a little Parasport Nation. Is at this time on Tuesdays we tee up the show, and he's filling in today for Alex Smythe. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be back, Kels. Hi, Alicia. How are you?
Good, you?
I'm good. I'm good. Kelly, to answer your question, I don't use an alarm clock. I have a child who typically wakes me up. Yeah.
Yes,
Also, like Alicia, I have a cat and a dog. They're pretty good. You can see behind me over my shoulder, my bird is yapping away. If
yes,
I'm not up,
today.
they'll probably wake me up.
I should
I've
have
got
put
a
an
lot of
other
different things.
option on Twitter.
Yes,
You should have.
yes.
Or bird, or
Other
other.
or other.
Yeah.
All of the above. But honestly, even before I had a kid and all these pets, I just had like an internal body clock where I would just naturally wake up. Now I would
Yep.
set an alarm as a backup because back in the day when I had to get up and at a specific time and blah blah blah, I would set an alarm, but rarely would it go off. So I think my body clock is pretty good, guys.
Yeah, I love that. And that's the way I feel about it. Alex Smythe spotlights upcoming parasport events in Canada and abroad. He pulls back the curtain on how parasports are played and interviews athletes, coaches, and trainers. Parasport Nation is, of course, part of Kelly and Company, coming up on Tuesdays and Fridays via AMI audio and will be available as a standalone podcast and video podcast over on YouTube. Jeff, what do we got going on today? And we maybe can mention Friday if we have time.
Sure, yeah. Boccia obviously is on the docket. The 2024 Boccia Championships are taking place in Ottawa, I believe, starting tomorrow. So competition starts tomorrow, carries throughout the weekends. We have Peter Lacer, who's their executive director at Boccia Canada. He comes on, tees up that event. Alex Smythe was also in Calgary for Site Night, so he was there. He
Yeah.
gathered a couple of interviews. You'll hear from volunteers as well as people who actually partook in the Site Night event. And then for Friday's episode, we have scheduled Patrick Anderson, wheelchair basketball
Oh,
player. This is
great
going
guest.
to be really good, Kells. He's going to be fantastic. He's obviously very familiar with AMI, and he's friends with Alex and knows Nathan. So there's going to be a great conversation. And what we try to do here, Kells, on the show is we want to learn more about the person, learn more about not just the athlete, but what makes them tick. So it'll be a fun conversation. I think we're going to throw a couple of curveballs at him and see what he can come up with.
That's awesome. Sounds good. Great. He's a fantastic guest and a great show today with lots of content from Alberta. A really fun event. We've been to that one and it's really enjoyable. The people are awesome. Jeff, thanks. We'll talk to you down the road and Alex next time.
Cheers, guys.
Remember, Parasport Nation, part of Kelly and Company, and of course, that's on Tuesdays and Fridays via AMI Audio, and is available as a standalone podcast and on YouTube as well. Alicia Grace, thank you so much for being with us today on the program. Appreciate your sharing, especially right off the top, and giving us something to think about when we talk of Wicked.
Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate Alicia and Nisreen on the program. We got a program Wednesday for you. Wellness coach Francis Wong with aging and how we can slow it down. Hey, we're all about that. Entrepreneur Kevin Shaw joins us, and he's got what makes a great product service experience. And Janelle Shaw of Arts Accessibility Network Manitoba sharing upcoming workshops that we can find out about. We'll talk to you then. Waving at you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.